listening to Radio 1851. Let me be your hero.
Would you dance if I asked you to dance?
And we're back. All right.
Before you say anything, that was the worst one yet. What are you doing?
You know what, man? To be honest,
what are you doing with the music?
Dude, I just clicked a song, and
that was terrible.
It just happened to be "Hero" by Enrique Iglesias. You know what?
That just does not get me fired up to talk sports at all.
To be honest, none of the songs are meant to fire us up. It's just kind of it's just a running gag.
I'm taking over next week. Because this is bad.
Well, no, we're not taking over, okay?
I'm taking over the music selection 100%.
I'll put on a good song. The problem is they don't give us a good mix here. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rambling Sports. Thank you all for listening in, whoever is actually listening. My name is Lutz. South Philly Bill here is on my left, dressed up, by the way, in the blue on dark blue tie outfit.
Dude, it works with the black. And you can wear light blue shirt and navy blue tie. It works.
Exactly. I don't know what Bill's dressed up. You know, he's trying to be professional now.
I interview this morning. What am I supposed to do? I got to come to campus, take a test. You got to study.
Oh,
There's real world stuff going on here. Not just sports.
What are you talking about? Sports is all that's what's going around, man. This is all about sports. As much as we love Bill being professional, you know, interviewing for the real world and stuff like that, I'm not doing that yet. Should I? Absolutely.
Probably.
Will I? Maybe. All right. There's a decent amount of stuff to talk about today. We actually got our good boy Drew, the hockey guy, is coming in later today. We don't really have an actual name. Hopefully, we don't have an actual name for him. He's just Drew, Bill's roommate. But like, you know, everyone needs a radio name. Whoever comes in, he'll happily talk about the Rangers with me while I sit there in misery and talk about how the Rangers trade away 4 main pieces and the rebuild has started. So I guess that's a plus. I don't know. A lot of things going on. A lot of hockey talk today. Going to be some baseball talk today. Maybe some basketball, because I don't know about you, but nothing made me laugh harder than hearing that Bow Wow beat Lonzo Ball in a 3-point shooting contest. I don't know if that's entirely true, but Bleacher Report and ESPN posted something about it, so you know what, it has to be true.
You know what's hilarious? The first 2 overall picks in the NBA draft just can't have the worst shooting form in the world. That's incredible.
Oh no, of course. And then you have who was the third guy? Who's the third guy at this point?
Jason Tatum, who's absolutely tearing it up.
Oh yeah, Tatum. You have 11 is Donovan Mitchell. You got get the first 2 guys in there. Otherwise, not really. Everyone else is kind of doing great except for them. Like in terms of guys who are projected to do well, but that's perfectly fine. But we're actually going to start off today with a little UFC news because Bill over here is not the biggest UFC guy. I am sadly an MMA junkie. I enjoy this stuff a lot. Nothing makes me happier than seeing people get kicked in the head. And as well as a couple other things too. Big news coming out from the MMA world. John Jones has been fined $205,000 and has his license revoked by the California State Athletic Commission. As for anyone who's listened to the show before, definitely in the past you have known I have ranted about John Jones numerous times that he's the biggest shame in sports history because he is easily the best MMA fighter of all time, barring all the incidences that he's had, whether it's hitting a pregnant lady drunk with his car, getting popped for steroids, and then getting popped for steroids again. This past,
wasn't he doing cocaine before fights to get fired up?
Yes. He's also he partied a week before every fight, and he still won mostly in dominant fashion. That's how good this guy is. He beat debatably the second best light heavyweight of all time. Literally doing cocaine 3 days before. The guy's a savage.
Wouldn't that be an advantage? Isn't that why it's out? Lawrence Taylor used to take that before football games. I can imagine that helps him.
Well, yeah. Well, the guy's a natural wild man. Here's the whole story of him. Realistically, a 30 for 30 should be done on this guy because I think
which will just never happen.
No, it will. It should happen because he's not the biggest MMA star in the world. I'd say he would be number 4 all time in terms of MMA popularity behind Conor, Brock Lesnar, and Ronda. Probably behind those 3 in terms of actual draws, pay-per-view draws. Jones has been a big draw, maybe 5th behind George St. Pierre. But The problem with Jones is I feel like he's a guy that always has been hyped up so well, but then wins, and then he always just ends up screwing up. Like, we don't drop F-bombs here. If I did, I apologize already. But he keeps on screwing up, and it's kind of upsetting. But as of August, he fought for the light heavyweight championship. He won via head kick knockout in the third round. Then a week later, he got popped for steroids again, which kind of sucks. For those of you who don't know, the thing that was in the system was Turinabol, and that is literally like one of the hardest stuff to find in your system. Like, it's not found in blood. It gets out of your system like pretty quickly, and it's kind of shocking how the whole thing went. But this is actually still his biggest punishment, because he had his hearing in front of the California State Athletic Commission yesterday, and it came out that he was fined at $205,000, as well as his license getting revoked, which now this hasn't happened to him yet. But as well, he also has a hearing with USADA, which is the United States Athletic Commission, or whatever it is, the Drug Athletic Commission, or whatever it is, and that suspension can go up to 4 years. So for the sake of the thing right now, he could actually be suspended for 4 years and then take another year after that to actually sign up for his fighting license again. Which by that point he'll be like 35, and he'll probably just be on a whole lot of steroids more. Maybe he'll go up to heavyweight and probably dominate for 3 years and then retire. But it's kind of as an MMA fan, it's just, again, it's just upsetting, because you can't just not watching this happen. Kind of sucks, because right now UFC is really lacking in star power. Conor's not going to show up because he's got $100 million in the bank.
Why would he want to get his the beat out of his face, and when he can make all this other money, just appearances? Like, he's good. He's never going to fight in the UFC again.
Conor will fight in the UFC again.
It's not worth it to him. Why would you? You're just going to literally almost die in an octagon. He's not going to almost die, though. That's no money. For no money. The money in the UFC isn't big enough to keep their stars, and that's their problem right now.
Well, the money in the UFC, there's no, boxing only paid more just because it was Floyd Money Mayweather. That's really
when he could do those fights where he doesn't really get hit that much. Big stars, not when their life is good and they have money and they're secure. They're not going to want to risk themselves literally almost dying in an octagon.
Well, I get that, and that's kind of what Conor's done. That's been truly incredible. That he is truly, for the first time in MMA history, he is more popular than the UFC. He's the first ever MMA athlete that has truly outgrown the UFC, which is honestly incredible. Which
shouldn't be no player in any other league has ever outgrown the sport. That's crazy.
No.
That just shows his popularity. That more shows the numbers that the UFC draws more as Conor McGregor. Trust me. If you look at the list of pay-per-view numbers over this past year was Conor did not fight at all in 2017, was by far one of the worst pay-per-view years in a long time. There was only two pay-per-views that drew over 400,000 buys, and that was the John Jones Daniel Cormier fight in August, which got popped which obviously that's tainted now because of what happened, but they still get their money out of it, and UFC 217, which was GSP's return fight. Both of those drew over 800,000, but the next highest after that was the pay-per-view at the end of the year with Chris Cyborg and Holly Holm, and that was 380. Otherwise, then you have 350, another 300, a lot of 250s, and one was as low as 100,000. 100,000 pay-per-view buys was literally back in UFC 2 days, when it was going on in 96. So and what sucks is that, which is annoying, that obviously Dana White being the promoter that he is, saying, "Oh, UFC had one of its better years." No, it didn't. The only reason why it did well, if they're saying that they did well, is because they got a lot of money out of that Conor fight. Which by that sense, he's right. But if you think of actual UFC business as a whole, because Conor's business was not UFC's business, because Conor McGregor had his own promotion. He literally created his own promotion with obviously conjoining with Floyd stuff for the boxing fight. But yeah, it's honestly just a shame. It's just a shame, and I don't feel like talking about this anymore because that's just going to get me annoyed. And do you want to what do you want to talk about, Bill? Do you want to talk about how the Yanks are 5-0 and going to win the World Series, even though you told me told me last week that Derek Jeter shouldn't have been a shortstop, and that the Yanks won't win the World Series.
I still have both opinions, but I am thoroughly impressed what they're doing in spring training. Their pitching is holding up a lot. Well, it's spring. It's early in spring. It's fine. Guys are seeing balls for the first time, seeing breaking balls. They played the Phillies a couple times. They bashed up the Phillies. That's another story. The Phillies are the young team. Their lineup's going to hit, and they actually just named Aaron Nola, the opening day starter, which is awesome. I love seeing him legitimately get the #1 ace role. I still think they need to buy another arm they can spend a little bit more money in the short term if it's a short-term contract. I don't want them to have long-term money locked up. I'm following the game right now.
You're talking about, I completely lost track. I'm talking
about the Phillies right now.
Good. Yeah, I was about to say, good. They should honestly spend a little bit more money.
They should spend
let's not be the Mets here, all right? The
Mets, and realistically, they can shoot for a wild card. I don't think they're going to be able to, but if their lineup holds up and their pitching holds up, I think that could be a possibility. They're going to hit. I see in spring training that they're showing the Phillies are in like a transition period where they're trying to embrace this analytics, and like Gabe Kapler as a manager is new and he's weird and he's doing all this stuff like be bold and players tracking everything they do. It feels a lot like Chip Kelly, and that's what a lot of comparisons people in the city are making. But I kind of like the approach he's taking with the younger guys. Younger guys like a lot of direction and like a lot of leadership. There's not a lot of older veteran guys. There's Santana, but he's very much with the Latino players and making sure they're comfortable and giving them advice. But with the young guys like Crawford and Franco and Hoskins, I like how he's micromanaging them. Yep. This is a team you need to micromanage.
Well, yeah, because they're so young at this point. They got a long way to go. Which, personally, if I had to guess, and I'm no baseball expert, I just like to think I know something about baseball. I really don't. But if you kind of look at the landscape of what's been happening over baseball, especially in the National League East for the past few years, honestly, realistically, Phillies could easily be a 500 team, but still be third place in the NL East. And that wouldn't surprise me.
I think, that wouldn't surprise me. I think
by default they could be the third
place. They should be 81 and 81. I think they should play 500 baseball. They're going to have ups and lows, just like I said about the Yankees last week, where I said these young players are going to have ups and downs in the season. And I didn't think that Aaron Boone was an experienced enough manager to really manage those lulls. It's different with the Phillies because they don't have World Series expectations. You can manage young.
And realistically, that kind of talent, they don't have that kind of talent.
Yeah, exactly. That's completely right. So when you realistically look at this team's lineup, say right now, projected. This is my projection, my personal opinion. Their lineup is going to be Cesar at second base, leading off Odubel in center, Carlos Santana first, Reese in left field, Michael Franco at third base, Nick Williams in right field, J.P. Crawford shortstop, and Jorge Alfaro behind the plate. I think Nick Williams, and J.P. Crawford are making the steps into everyday players and playing 154 games at various positions. I think Reese is locked in as a left fielder for the next 3 years and he moves back to first base when Santana's gone. The lineup's going to hit. Their lineup is Cesar was a legit leadoff hitter. He proved it in the first half last year before he had a little wrist injury. I think if three of these guys take a steps, and by the three guys I mean Odubel, Michael Franco, and Nick Williams, take a step in the positive direction, this team will be 500 because their pitching holds up. Their top three starters hold up in Nola, Eichhoff, and Velasquez. It's just getting through Lively, Jake Thompson, and maybe a sixth guy every 3 weeks.
Nick Pivetta. Do they have any pitching prospects that could come up like later half of the season?
No, they don't. They don't. They have a young guy who ESPN or Bleach Report, I forget which one, came on and they said, "Oh, he's the next Pedro Martinez." Well, I'm pretty positive that's been said 100 times. He is like a Dominican guy. He's probably like 6 foot nothing. He's 170 pounds, but he throws like 100 plus. But he's not. He's an A ball. He might go to Double A this year. So they don't have. That's why I'm saying I think the Phillies need to sign a proven starter, and I just don't want a proven starter. I want Arrieta on a 3-year. I go $80 million. That's fine with me. I don't care. Get him out of here in 3 years. That's not a long-term commitment for the Philadelphia Phillies. I just think that shores up this rotation to the point where if it is the midway point, if it is the July 31st trade deadline and the Phillies are playing 500 baseball, they need to make a push for the playoffs. Because baseball, as we've seen, the wild card teams can catch fire and make it. I am probably not going to be this year because there are some very dominant teams in the NL, in the Dodgers.
I don't even think that. I think of a lot of things. I honestly think the Phils are, well, you said, a good starter away, and maybe one or two more good bats away.
So that, and the term with bats is whether
it's power or like actually getting contact. I think that's part of it.
You know what it is, John? It's the guy in the lineup. Like, it's that Stanton. It's the guy batting in the 2, 3, 4 who just is going to hit 45 homers, drive in 100 runs, and hit for around 300. They need that guy, and I think they have a guy who's going to hit 35 plus 100 RBIs.
Herrera could easily hit like 313 this year. He could hit 300. Let's see if he hits 30.
He could lead the league. He could lead the NL in batting average. He led the league. He led the NL in doubles last year. There's just guys that need to take steps in terms of on base percentage and average for Herrera. It needs to be Cesar needs to worry about striking out less. He walked 61 times and struck out 108 times last year. That's not good enough. His average is great. His OBP, slugging, great for a leadoff guy. He batted 293 last year, slug 370, slug 406, and his on-base percentage was not leadoff quality. It's 370. That's striking out. That's based on balls, which does not work in the MLB. But other than that, I think the bullpen is their strong point for the season going forward. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Kapler manages that with this new stat era. I don't think, because what they're doing in spring training, I don't know if you've caught this, and a lot of teams are doing it too. The Yankees have done it with Judge at first, like very much mixing up lineups to see where guys can play. And I think that's
I could. Well, I'd be honest with you. Like, if you want to change up the outfield a little bit, you could easily put Judge or Stanton in first, and that's a good idea just to have the rotation up. Maybe if you put Bird at DH. That's what I was talking about before with the outfield pieces. Like, when I meant by pieces, that they have a lot of chances to rotate the lineup if they need to. But my guess is I highly doubt the Yanks with that power. Who knows? Maybe they get Russell Wilson in there. He's been hit. He's been pitched. He's been playing well for spring ball. Maybe he decides, hey, you know what? I'm going to take a little break from throwing touchdowns and maybe like winning one Super Bowl for the Seahawks and or running for his life. Instead of running for his life, he can go like steal bases. How great would that be? Russell Wilson coming off the bench, hitting a dinger in the right field of Yankee Stadium for actually an important game. That'd be cool. The amount of star power that would be, geez. More power to the Yanks.
With talking about both teams and talking about baseball in a general sense, baseball is getting to the point where guys aren't getting 500, 600 at-bats a year. Baseball is going to the point where guys are resting and managers are realizing that their pitchers probably shouldn't log 200 innings. Pitchers, only the top guys who can do it. There's no more horses that actually go 220 plus innings.
Well, half the time that you would think are horses tear their UCL.
Exactly. So that's what we're talking about in this sense.
Like Steven Strasburg, for example, or something like that. God forbid Kershaw gets Tommy John surgery. Like, I don't know if that'll ever happen. If that happens, I think that's going to be a key sign for baseball. But like, I think it's obviously an overcorrection from the Phillies. Not like there's ebbs and flows in any sport of philosophy or in anything. There's ebbs and flows, and I think Kapler's an obvious overcorrection to the point where the Phillies were in 2011, where it was just baseball and old school and hitting 300 and
driving 100 runs, hitting 45 home runs. Now there's like actually looking at it and say, how can we maximize the usage of every player on the field? And the last two teams that win the World Series have done that in the Cubs, especially the Cubs and the Astros. They maximized their players' usage when they could. And
even Kansas City kind of did that too a little bit. If I'm
They did. They did that with Dyson a lot, with pitch running and defense in the outfield. That was more lightning in the bottle for 2 years, and players. That was the perfect convergence of players coming into the peak all at the same time, and having the player who passed away, I forget his name, and Shields coming on, and just players. Like, baseball is a team that when a team comes together, you can do anything. That's why I think the Dodgers, Indians, and it's really the Dodgers, Indians, and Astros are better team than the Yankees. Because I don't see the Yankees' young players and all these guys coming into their own all at the same time. I could be completely wrong.
By the way, it's Yolando Ventura. It was the young guy too, which was really disappointing.
Yeah, that sucked. That was going on a lot back in the day. By the way, it's 5-1 Toronto in the top of the 8th against the Phils.
Cool. Nothing like little 3 o'clock baseball.
A 125 start in baseball is the greatest thing in the world.
Oh no, absolutely. Nothing makes me happier than spending an afternoon on a weekday going to watch a baseball game during the summer.
It was the best. I remember getting called out of camp by my mom because she got tickets one time. It's by far the greatest thing in the world. Sitting just baking in the sun for 3.5-4 hours. And then going home and having the rest of your night.
Oh, exactly.
That's another thing about baseball. I think the speed up rules this year should be interesting. I think the players' union, in order to, because of all the stuff that's going on with contracts, we're getting real conceptual about baseball right now because I'm a junkie, just like you did about USC. But they want to be able to, in the next CBA in 2021, they want to they don't want to give the powers the owners as much power as they already give them to sign contracts, like that's been going on with the free agents. So baseball is about to get a lot of rules changes in the next 3 years. The Players Association is going to cave to the commissioner in speeding up the game, and it should be very interesting. A pitch clock is coming soon. Baseball will have a clock in the next 5 years, and it's going to be weird.
Excuse me, big hiccup. That will be interesting.
I want to see, how do you make a guy like Mariano Rivera, or a guy that's a star and been in this league? He's just the first guy that popped in my head. How do you make him have a time from running from the bullpen in the outfield to the pitching mound and saying, okay, because you got on this mound 1 second late, you don't get 8 warm-up pitches? That's going to be interesting.
Well, to be honest, you can't do that to Mariano Rivera because he's retired. But
you know where I'm getting at. Guys like Kenley Jansen. Giles is an established guy. He just won the World Series with the Astros, even though he's a young guy. All the good relievers in baseball who need to talk to the catcher because they're not in the scouting reports of the starting lineups. And how does the dynamic of communication between the dugout, pitchers, and catchers work? Because that's a very big key to the game. You might see catchers. You ever watch a college baseball game and they have or it looks like a quarterback has on his wrist, right?
Yeah.
And then they got a coach relaying stuff from the dugout to the catcher, and the catcher is then relaying.
Doing the weird hand signals, where they just flick their nose.
We're gonna get to the point where the pitcher has something on his body that's stuff's coming in from the dugout into the catcher into the entire field. And I don't like that in Major League Baseball. I think the old way is better, but I'm just an old school baseball guy.
Well, half the time people steal signs anyway from second base. If they're in second base,
I think that's such an art. I think
no, it is an art. It's very impressive.
Yeah, and I think that's such a part of it. There's a lot of nuances in the game that's just insane, and I think the speed rules will hinder that part. But but I'm also a fan of baseball, and I like baseball to grow, and I don't want to see it phase out. So I'm a fan. I think they should speed up the game.
Oh, no.
Games shouldn't last 4 hours unless it's a playoff game. Playoff game, take all those rules out of the way.
Let them play forever.
Yeah. But the World Series games this fall, even though I didn't get to watch them, they were the most entertaining things in the world. They were absolutely incredible. They would go 5.5 hours, and there would be 13 runs scored, and everyone loved it.
Oh, of course they did. Everyone loved it. Do you know what people not love, though? Because, I'm so good at segues. teams tanking in the NBA. Now, an article came out on Bleacher Report, I want to say today. Yes, came out today. Adam Silver sending out memos to teams last week stating that they're going to monitor closely the play of all teams during the remainder of the season to ensure no blatant tanking.
How do you monitor the Suns roster? Like, how do you monitor?
How do you monitor the bottom of the West, or the East?
The West is worse than the East right now.
We talked about it last week.
The Lakers have separated themselves, but there's the Mavericks.
They have more wins than they do last year.
The Mavericks. Oh yeah, of course. People on this LA grind, like the Lakers are nothing. They're irrelevant. I don't need to see them on Bleacher Report saying they eclipsed our win total from last year. The Mavs, the Grizzlies, the Suns, and the Kings. That's 4 teams. And then the Bulls. So there's 4 in each conference that are within 3 games of each other for the last pick. Like, there's going to be a race for the first pick.
You have 5 teams tied with 18 wins, which is Orlando, Atlanta on the East, and then the West is Grizzlies, Kings, and Phoenix.
There's going to be a mad dash. Why aren't the Knicks losing?
I
don't understand what the Knicks are doing. Why?
Great. In typical Knicks fashion, just like they did in the year they drafted Porzingis. They couldn't lose the last 3 games to get the number 1 overall pick. But then, at least they got Porzingis, thank God. But, God forbid he didn't turn out well. And now you see Karl Anthony Towns, having the most double-doubles in the most doubles in NBA history in his span
I'll give
you
Jahlil Okafor for Porzingis in a heartbeat.
No thanks. I'm happily fine with the Latvian unicorn compared to a guy who couldn't play defense and couldn't even make a free throw if Pistol Pete Maravich taught him how to shoot.
So getting to Sixers, a little bit of Sixers, tough loss yesterday.
Oh no, I think we got to talk about here on this tanking teams.
But they're going to be a mad race. There's no way to actually monitor other than if their owner comes out and says we're going to tank. What are you going to do when you just don't have talent on a roster? Yeah, you're going to lose to teams that are vying for playoff spots.
Well, here's an example. Who's good on this? Devin Booker. That's like saying, all right, Devin Booker, we're shutting you down for the rest of the season, and literally you're going to start your bench. That's as the worst you can get for some games, where they're literally losing by 50 a game. That stuff. I get that, Adam. You can't really do a lot about it, but I feel like there's some times where it's just blatantly obvious. Debatably, for when the Sixers were there, when they were trading away their best player on their team to the Bucks, and then shout out to Michael Carter Williams. Wish you were still on the Sixers. Maybe you could have done something.
He just is bad.
He was the rookie of the year, and then you traded him.
He was a guy that gets numbers on a bad team. Those guys are in the league. That's fine. They go somewhere else and they don't play. My point with the whole tanking thing, and I've heard a lot of people say this, but it's not brought up enough. You look at the best teams in East Conference right now, and you take out you go to the teams that have been successful, right? You go the Rockets, Warriors, Spurs, and then you go Raptors, Celtics, Cavs, Wizards.
By the way, I just saw this here. Good for Minnesota being overall. Good for Minnesota being 3rd in the East.
That's not going to stay like that, though.
Who knows?
Jimmy Butler's hurt.
But you still have Wiggins, Karl Anthony Towns.
So
Tom Thibodeau's still a great coach. It's good to see that.
The point I'm trying to make is I don't think tanking's it doesn't necessarily work. It's not proven to work. The Celtics didn't really. They traded for pieces. Kyrie wasn't a tank. Most of their pieces are through the draft, but they never actually committed to tanking. The Raptors never tanked. They just drafted.
The Celtics never tanked.
Smart.
The problem with the Celtics never tanked. They got all those top round picks from Brooklyn.
Yeah, I'm saying no teams. None of the best teams in the league, none of the contending teams or consistently contending teams over the last decade have truly tanked. No, tanking has yet to be proven to work. Yes, theoretically, you get the best 19-year-old ever, but you don't really know how that guy's going to turn out.
76ers.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm saying is I want to know when the shift back to trying to win and developing a team, drafting older guys is going to happen in the NBA. Just like I said with the baseball thing, there's ebbs and flows, and this is the cool new trend that everyone's doing. But when you look at the top...
It's been a progressive trend now probably since since when the high school kids started not going out.
Yeah. So what I'm saying,
Whatever that
the
trend
point is that you look at the rosters of the top two teams. The Rockets did not tank. The Rockets have been committed to not tanking their entire thing. They said from the very beginning, we are going to trade pieces. We are going to be competitive. And look at what happened. They have a star in James Harden. They have a star in Chris Paul. They built a team around their core, and they're flat out better than the Warriors right now. Now, that's not going to – I don't think that holds true in the playoffs, but they have the best chance of beating them. The Warriors never tanked. They drafted smart, and they drafted 3 smart picks, and then they acquired a free agent. I think that's the way to build in the NBA.
By the way, they just built up – well, by the way, you don't even have to consider they got a free agent. Their free agent was Andre Iguodala. Forget Kevin Durant.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think
they got Andre Iguodala for 3 years, like $30 million. It was a phenomenal idea. It was a phenomenal, great job on their part.
Yeah,
because Sixers traded him to Denver for I forget 3. Oh, wasn't that for the Andrew Bynum trade?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Andrew Bynum, St. Joe's Metuchen's finest. Always forget that. Shout out to St. Joe's Metuchen. Always have a little special spot in my heart.
So anyway, I think these teams at the bottom of the league need to reevaluate their. You can look at the Minnesota Timberwolves. Anthony Wiggins and Karl-Anthony Towns weren't really doing anything before Jimmy Butler got there. They acquired a free agent. They traded.
Come on.
What do you mean? It's evident.
Okay, no, they weren't. They weren't
a 3 seed contending in the Western Conference until Jimmy Butler got there.
They also didn't have coaching. Don't forget, they also got Tom Thibodeau too this past year.
Their coach died.
Subtle silence. That's true.
So that's what I'm saying. I think, yes, the way you have to draft smart, and if you have a low pick, you have a better chance. But the consistency around building a program and building around pieces that you know is successful, I think that's the way to go. Rather than look at the Pelicans. They had Anthony Davis, a top 5 talent, for years. They had him for years.
They didn't build anyone around him.
That's what the point I'm trying to make is.
They got Austin Rivers at the 10th overall pick and he did nothing.
You can't just be god awful and then get a guy and then win like that. As a Sixer fan, I've seen it. Like, we have a top 10 talent in the league, and we have 2 probably top to 25, and we're still 7th in the Eastern Conference and can't beat the Heat on a Tuesday night.
Okay. The Heat aren't a bad team for starters, and second of all, your number 1 overall pick hasn't even played because he threw out his shoulder and literally forgot how to shoot a basketball. Yeah, that's part of it too.
It's all crap.
And by the way, you still have the Sixers, to their credit, have 2. Robert Covington has stepped up huge this year, more than anyone. He stepped up.
He stepped up until he got a contract, and now I can't put the ball in the bottom of. He can't even hit. If he was on a beach, he couldn't hit water with a rock.
He was doing 3-and-D earlier this year.
Yeah, but now he's not. Last night on Dwayne.
I really not have been watching Sixer basketball.
Last night they put Ben Simmons on Dwayne Wade because he's their best perimeter defender now, not Robert Covington, which is who they signed him for. That is evident of what the Sixers think of Robert Covington right now. Robert Covington has not hit a shot in probably 2 months, and he hasn't been a good on-the-ball defender in 2 months. Yes, he can play within a zone, but he cannot play on-the-ball defense anymore. I don't know what happened. The guy got a contract, and now he can't shoot. It's very frustrating. I think the LeBron stuff is hilarious with the Sixers.
It's stupid.
I think it's a real possibility. There's about the Sixers are one of the teams he's going to interview with, and he did have a member of his team come and look at private schools. That is a confirmed report.
Yeah, from Smitty.
No, not from Smitty. It is from an actual reporter now.
I know.
That was confirmed. So I think that's awesome. I think the Sixers should. I think they're better than the Bucks. Last night they couldn't hit a 3. It was a tie game and they just can't get it done.
If you think about it, look, the Sixers now have what? 2, 4, 6 guys that score over 12 points a game. That's very good.
That's good. So they're getting there.
They're on the right path.
They're 8-2 in their last 10. I think they should be the 5 or 6 seed by the end of this year, which is more than I was saying when I first started on this show, because they are playing more consistent in crunch time. Ben Simmons, he was pissed off that he didn't become an All-Star. I think that's been probably the best thing that's happened to the Sixers all year, other than Joel Embiid cementing himself as a top 10 player in the league. So going forward, I think what the Sixers need to do to be a realistic contender for the big prize, which is LeBron, which I want, which is you're crazy if you don't want him. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy if you do not want LeBron James. And if you want to call and argue with me, I would love to, because I need to relieve some stress. But they need to not play one of the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference, which means they need to get the 5 seed to play right now, which would be the Wizards. And they need to compete and take that series to 6 or 7 and even win the series to really have a realistic chance of luring LeBron here, or for that matter, any other free agent. Paul George, there's a bunch of guys that are out on the market right now.
To be honest, I could see Paul George fit doing a better fit than LeBron James.
Yeah, me right now, for pure fit standpoint, yes. Do I want LeBron over Paul George? Yes.
Well, I'd put LeBron James over everyone.
Exactly. So
but for the idea of position play, I find it pointless, because he'll basically you basically have 2 point guards that are like 6'10" and above by that point if you have LeBron on the team, and I think that would just be absurd.
Yeah, I think it would work. I just think they would take some time, obviously, to work. But for anything the Sixers going to do in this offseason, which is
try and get Chris Paul. Chris Paul is still a free agent.
It's the goal.
I think. I don't even know.
The team, I don't think he's going to leave the Rockets.
No, I wouldn't either, because they've only lost 3 times since. Since
I think Chris Paul really wants to be the Warriors. I think he really...
he does. He wants to beat them. He doesn't want to be there.
I know, beat. That's what I meant.
Well, yeah, because he hated them when he was on the Clippers.
I think he hates the fact that he was the best point guard in the league until this fresh-faced, baby-faced Steph Curry came to the league shooting all these threes when he was the best point guard in the league for probably close to a decade. And then this guy just burst onto the scene as a top 5 point guard, or as a top 2 point guard. Taking his spot, and then Russ and him, I think, are solidly the best 2 point guards in the league.
Do you think? And I don't know. I still think Chris Paul.
He's not better than either of those 2 guys.
Give or take. I think give or take. Not with Steph, but like.
And I'm not the biggest Russ fan at all, but he's a top 2 point guard in the league.
No, yeah, you can agree with that, especially with his ability. I just think it's obvious what would happen if you switch out Chris Paul for Westbrook on the Rockets. They're not having this record.
Yeah,
mostly because, and maybe that's just a style. No,
that's because he doesn't fit with the. Imagine if Chris Paul was. We're getting into just ridiculous.
Chris Paul was on the Knicks.
No,
the Knicks would have been great by now. The Knicks wouldn't have the problems that they're having.
Remember when
been wanting Chris Paul for years?
When James Harden, KD, maybe not James Harden, but KD and Russ was going on. Imagine Chris Paul on that team instead of Russ. You think KD's... I know it's a ridiculous hypothetical.
All 3 of them would be there, and they would have won the title.
Honestly, with Russ's personality and the way he plays and the way Chris Paul plays, I think KD might have stayed.
We actually have callers on the line. Oh my. Let's see what we got. Actually, just one here. You're on Redmond Sports. Who is it?
Hey, Johnny. How are you?
Hey, how's it going? How you doing, Craddock?
Thanks for having me on, Johnny. I appreciate it.
Of course. What do you want to talk about, my good friend?
How are you, Craddock?
Billy, it's also good to hear from you as well.
How are you, brother?
You guys haven't mentioned the Combine. I'm itching for football, Johnny. You know me.
We were getting to it. Johnny Football over here has got all that. Let's hear it.
We got plenty of time for the Combine.
Who do you want to talk about, Craddock?
Craddock. No, not Craddock. It ain't Craddock.
Craddock?
Yeah.
I thought it was Craddock.
No. It's my boy Clay from back on home. He's chilling out in Florida right now, hanging under the sun with the Seminoles.
I'm calling in from Tallahassee. I need to know. Listen, Johnny, I value your opinion. Which quarterback highest Wonderlic score? Right now, Josh Allen's the favorite.
It could be. It could. Honestly, I don't know that much about that. But if I had to guess, it's probably going to be Allen. Realistically, real question is I don't know, but here's my view. I want to ask you a question, Clay. Since you're a big football guy, who do the Jets take this year? Who do your Jets take this year with that pick?
Well, listen, Johnny. It all comes down to Kirk Cousins. If we get Kirk, at 6, then we could get Fitzpatrick, lock down that secondary. Listen, we got one of the best secondaries in football. If we get Fitzpatrick at 6, Johnny. Jamal Adams.
Yeah, maybe.
Micah Fitzpatrick.
That'd be intriguing, but I feel like they always draft a secondary guy every year, and like one out of every two of them pan out.
Don't get me started, Johnny. But listen, Fitzpatrick's different. He's different. I would love Nelson. I know you're a Notre Dame guy.
Oh, yeah. There's part of me that's thinking right now because right now, according from what I've seen, what I've read is that Giants are open up for trading the number 2 pick. I'm intrigued to see if they are going to trade it. I think if anything, they could trade down just a couple picks and draft Quinn Nelson and put him at guard and give Eli another year.
They got to pay Pugh too.
What'd you say?
They got to pay Justin Pugh. So
yeah,
they got to figure out that offensive line, Freddie.
Realistically, they got Pugh, they got Richburg. They can easily keep Richburg and let Pugh go by the wayside, which is fine. They need to find a new left tackle, which I don't know if they're going to do that. Realistically, they need a whole offensive line.
What do you want them to? You want them to take the franchise at 2 or what? What do you
I'd take if they could, that'd be fine. But he was the best person on that offensive line, and he could range from anywhere from right tackle to left guard. He's maybe too small to play left, but he could do something. I don't even know at this point. But if they franchise him, he's only worth really. He's good for one more year until they either draft another guy because they got they re-signed Greco for a 1-year deal, which he'll probably play right guard next year because he was okay, but they just cut him. They think the Saints cut him for cap purposes, but he's not a bad player. We can get another good year out of him, but that's really it because center and left guard are already gone, and they don't have a right tackle to save themselves.
Where do you see Kirk going?
I think he's going to the Jets.
I think he honestly could go to the Jets. Well, do I think it's the best idea? I don't know. I don't know where else he would go.
I think he likes the idea of being in New York. I think he likes being on the East Coast and being in a major city. I think that still appeals to him. Every Jet fan that's talked to me, they thoroughly convinced me that he's coming to the Jets. Like, I have no really basis. It's just kind of like a feeling that he wants to stay relatively on this side of the country, whereas I don't think he's going out to Denver. I don't think he's going to.
Well, Jacksonville's already signed their guy in Bortles for $50 million for 3 years. So.
And I don't think the Jets want to draft a quarterback because they don't want to mess up again. I think the Jets are always going to be in their heads with that.
How much we're going to have to pay him? We're going to have to give him.
You have to pay him $30 million a year. He's going to be the highest paid quarterback in the league. It's going to be crazy, but that's how much. That's what's going to take. That's what's going to take.
Well, unless Aaron Rodgers re-ups his deal this year, that case he'll easily be the highest paid by that point. So, because there's no way.
What are the Eagles doing? They don't even need to do anything.
I think it's going to be interesting. Howie Roseman talked today about just draft and a lot of what the plan is for the offseason. They're going to have to clear some cap space because they are very limited right now. The interesting thing is going to be what they do with Jason Peters, whether they keep Vaitai there or they move Johnson to left tackle, and I wouldn't because I think the Eagles' right side of the offensive line is the best in the league, and I don't mess that up. Draft, if they don't have a guy they really like at 32, I think they should probably trade down, but there's not a lot of value in that pick because it's essentially a second rounder. I think they should go linebacker. They need depth there. Linebacker or offensive line. And then
you could go for another safety, comparing him with Malcolm Jenkins.
I just don't think you draft safety because we have McLeod locked up. Pretty good. I think you go interior, either line or linebacker. We need depth at both positions.
Don't say you don't draft a safety late first round, early second, because the Giants got Landon Collins from that, and Landon Collins is.
I know. I'm just saying
debatably a top 5, top 7 safety.
They have more of a need than at safety. That's my point.
Oh, of course. The linebacker, obviously, you can't go wrong with that. But
I think
Kendrick too.
They really need depth at linebacker, and I'm fine with them stretching for a second round talent in the first round because it's essentially the second round with a linebacker because we just need depth there. Hicks hasn't proven that he can stay healthy, and we were basically.
So if Kendrick's there too,
but his contract's going to be up soon. I just think the Eagles need to focus on depth, and they need to focus on shoring up the fronts, which made them good, because they're going to lose guys, but they're not going to be able to re-sign everyone. It happens to every Super Bowl team eventually.
Bill, $1 million question. What are you doing with Foles? $1 million.
Unless someone knocks me out with a trade offer, I'm keeping him.
You don't think you could get a second? Maybe
I think we could get a first and a second and a third because we don't have a second or third round pick. I think someone could lure Roseman into it. I just don't think Carson Wentz is going to play till week 5. I think he tore up his leg. I know it didn't look like it, but he tore his LCL, MCL, and ACL. I'm sorry, just LCL and ACL.
How are you going to bench Foles week 6? How are you going to do that?
I just think because everything has come from the Eagles. It's been Carson Wentz is their guy. When he's ready, he's their guy. I don't think the Eagles have not wavered on that at any point. They've stayed on message with that. So I think that's...
And Foles is okay with that, too,
I think...
Why don't you get a first and a third, then?
Because I think we need to win our first 5 games of the season. I don't think Nate Sudfeld wins...
A game.
Essentially. Because that's how I seriously feel. I feel like Nick Foles is that important to the success of the Eagles next season. I think he should... I think he's
so you're just going to let him walk? You're going to let him walk?
I'd let him walk, yeah. I think it's worth if they have any reservation about how Wentz's health going into next season, keep him. He's the best backup in the league. Why not keep him? And then
one last question: who's the best quarterback in this draft, Bill? Who is it? You got one pick. You can take them all. Franchise.
I'm a Rosen guy. I like confidence. I don't know why. I like how he was.
Josh Allen's pretty tall.
I don't like tall quarterbacks. I like guys who are confident and below 6'4".
Played out there in Wyoming.
The Wyoming point. He does have a lot of like small school Wentz-like things, but I just don't like how everyone's just
Flacco,
making fun of.
Considering that too,
I just don't like quarterbacks that are easily made fun of, and he is a quarterback that everyone is making fun of, and I don't think that's good.
Why are they making fun of him again? It's because he's like really tall.
Because he's really tall, and they're comparing him to Jamarcus Russell because he threw a ball on his knees like 50 yards and hit a goalpost.
Well, Jamarcus Russell was pretty terrible in the.
Johnny, who do you take? Who do you take it to? If you get anybody you want for the Giants.
If I'm taking anybody too, I'd take Rosen right now, but because that's only because I don't think you can't draft a guard at the number 2 overall pick. And I don't even care if he's the best offensive lineman in this draft. He's a guard in the NFL, and you can't. I can't see him being that high as the number 2 overall pick. Plus, Eli, I think it honestly depends on what they want to do with Eli. If they keep him there for 6 games, let Rosen sit under him and watch. That's what I would want to do. But let Eli go out there for a little bit. Let him either get beat up. Let Rosen learn this new system with the new coach. Honestly, that's the only way how this is going to work. Especially because I don't want Rosen to be tossed into the fire and then have nothing happen. You know what I mean? Like let's say DeShone Kizer, for example. If it was up to me, DeShone Kizer for the Browns should have been under Hugh Jackson's system, watched it over, read it, learned the system, let Cody Kessler go out there and get beat up and lose every single game. And then, who knows, Kizer would not be considered the failure that he is, even though he's a 4th-round pick, but still.
That's fair. All right, Johnny, I'm going to go. Give me one. Who do you like tonight? Give me one bet, will you, Fred?
Who do we like tonight? You know what? For the sake of it, let's go.
Big Ten basketball. What are you thinking?
Who's playing the Big Ten tonight?
It's a tournament. The Big Ten tournament.
Big Ten tournaments tonight. Hey, yeah. You know what? I'll go. I'll go for
in your own backyard. In your own backyard, you don't even know. You're a Philly guy now. You're selling out awfully quick.
You know what? Here, I'll take Temple over Connecticut tonight. I don't know.
Dude, that's a good bet. I listened to a Fran Duffy in here on the radio this morning. He was fired up. I think that's a good bet.
I'll take Temple over Connecticut tonight.
All right, I appreciate it. You guys take care of yourself.
All right, you too. I'll see you around, Craddock.
Take care.
Just a quick update. Phillies lost 7-1, and the Yankees are losing 6-2 in the bottom of the 8th right now.
That's fine. They'll come back. Who do we got over here? Caller. Well,
he's gone.
Nobody's here. Who do we got? Oh, here. Let's go. Do that. And pick up you. You're on Redmond Sports. Who is it?
John, how we doing?
How you doing?
Question.
Answer.
Give me a Giants record prediction next year.
7-9.
Ooh, we said that at the same time.
7-9.
That's I'd say 79 if everything turns out well, and depending on what they do with it, even if they draft Rosen. I think if they draft Rosen and let him sit, maybe if they let him sit and he plays towards the end, 7-9 is maybe a little too high. There's no way they go 500 next year. If they do, that'd be awesome. But I don't think they do.
5-11.
Do they have a better record? Do they have a better record than the Jets?
No way. Jets 10-6 with Kirk Cousins.
Oh, come on. Get out of here.
Guaranteed.
There's no way. That's if they get Kirk Cousins. If they get Baker Mayfield, they're barely winning 6 games next year.
Baker Mayfield's garbage, John.
Well, he screams New York Jet to me.
No, you're incorrect.
Well, I know I'm incorrect.
What's this 500 talk about the Philadelphia Phillies? I'm going to totally go ahead and disagree with you there.
I think it's possible. I predicted 73 when we talked. Yes, I think if things break right for him,
if everything works out right,
and guys take steps, they can be 500. But I predicted 73, 74 wins, which is up from 63. Which is up from getting 2 games over 100 losses last year. I just think they're going to show improvement. I don't really think 500 baseball, but things break right.
Well, they're going to be the 3rd best team in the National League East, though. They're not going to be better than the Mets, and they're not going to be better than the Nationals.
I think they have a chance to be better than the Mets because I think the Mets have a chance to fall off. That's the only reason why. I don't think they're playing. I got to
say that to my Met fan over here on the phone. I don't think he'll be too happy about that.
If the Mets stay healthy, they could give the Nationals a run for their money.
Just when have the Mets stayed healthy? That's the only thing.
It's been 2-3 years now. But one last question: how much help do you think Cologne gives to the Rangers pitching staff? I think that's a World Series bound team with Cologne.
Oh,
as long as he's hitting homers, that's all. They got a great shot.
What about isn't Tim Lincecum on the Rangers now too? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
I think they're just trying to recreate the magic.
They were trying to recreate the magic of 2008.
They were. Lincecum was 10-11.
Yeah, but he was still a top-notch pitcher from.
Yeah. I'm saying
you're talking about 2 former Cy Young winners.
Bartolo.
I think Bartolo was
Get Artie Dickey on the staff. You got 3.
Aye.
Watch out for Texas, John.
All right, I'll keep that in mind.
Good bet.
Have a good day.
You too. Aye. People are great. We actually got one more. We'll take one more call real quick for the sake of this because we're almost running out of time. You're on Ramblin' Sports. Who is it?
How you doing, Sam? Snobby Shores.
Hold on, I didn't hear your name, my good sir. What is it?
Sam from Snobby Shores.
All right. How you doing, Sam?
I had a quick question regarding the combine. I'm a big fan of it. Are you guys combine guys?
Oh, of course. Got nothing wrong with it.
Okay, so I know a big part of it is measurables, like size, speed, strength, the whole deal. The 40-yard dash is a big thing.
Yeah.
Would you agree? Now, the guys do wear tight shorts. There's size down there, anything to do with your ability to get drafted?
I hate people. I really do.
I think we should wrap it up on that note.
Do you want to wrap it up on that? Come on, let's try to think of something more positive. Let's go. We can do a quick little rapid fire here. All
right, give me some rapid fire stuff because my laptop's closed. I have no insight on anything you're going to tell me.
That's fine. Steelers say Ryan Shazier won't play in 2018. I think that's the best thing.
He shouldn't play football ever again. Just go spend time with your family. Be thankful you can almost walk.
I don't know about that. He should give himself another chance in 2019. Jets release veteran DN Muhammad Wilkerson. He's going to be great. He's going to go to some Super Bowl team and he'll do very well.
Whatever team he's on is going to win the Super Bowl.
He screams New York Giant if they give him some
he
cheap
screams
money.
New England Patriot.
If he goes to the Patriots, I'm going to ruin the studio. Gronk expected to return. Doesn't surprise me. Come on, let's think of something else. Anything
NCAA
good.
is corrupt.
Well, give or take.
Oh, St. Joe's beat Rhode Island last night.
I don't know how, but they did.
A10 tournament run coming? What do you think?
Hopefully, that would be ideal. And to be honest, we didn't even talk about the Rangers today. That's how much we got. That's how much we got off track. Rangers trade. Here we go. Here's some fast news. Rangers trade away everybody. The rebuild has begun, and the Rangers are going to tank and hopefully get the first overall pick. Thank you guys for listening to Rambling Sports. I truly appreciate it. We are still on the road to podcasting. By podcasting will probably mean that It'll probably be a YouTube clip with audio because SoundCloud is turning heel on me, and I really don't like it. And I'm canceling my SoundCloud Pro because it takes forever to upload any type of audio, and it's really annoying. I will let you guys know either through my own social media, follow us at Rambling Sport. I think that's the Twitter handle. I completely forget. Thank you guys so much for listening. My name is John Lutz, or Lutz, whatever you want to call me. South Philly Bill is on my
Lutz,
left.
it's been a pleasure. This was one of the better ones.
Oh, of course. And we are out.
More hits than the Hawks. Radio 1850.
Hey, Hawks. Be Good is a new...